She was terrified, standing in Michael Jordan's house, about to ask for a raise. One wrong word and she could lose everything. But when she finally spoke, Michael Jordan didn't say yes. He didn't say no. Instead, he gave an answer so unexpected, it didn't just change her salary, it changed her entire life forever. And what he said next is a lesson every working person in the world needs to hear. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Dive into what really happened. Wait. Stop scrolling for just a moment. What if asking for a raise from the greatest basketball player of all time didn't just increase your paycheck, but completely change the direction of your life? This is a powerful and inspiring story that very few people know about Michael Jordan. The world knows him as a 6-time NBA champion, a ruthless competitor, and a man with an unbreakable mindset. We've seen his legendary shots, his championships, and his dominance on the court. But this story has nothing to do with basketball arenas, trophies, or last-second game winners. This story begins quietly, far away from the spotlight. It begins in a kitchen. Behind the scenes of Michael Jordan's greatness was a personal chef. She wasn't famous. She didn't have a large following, endorsement deals, or millions of dollars. She was simply a hard-working, dedicated woman whose responsibility was to fuel one of the greatest athletes the world had ever seen. Every single day, she prepared meals with extreme care and precision. She understood that Jordan's energy, recovery, and performance depended on what she served. One mistake could affect his focus. One poorly planned meal could impact his training. So she worked with discipline, consistency, and pride in her craft. As time passed, her role began to grow. The hours became longer. The expectations became higher. The pressure increased. She wasn't just cooking anymore. She was supporting greatness at the highest level. Her job now carried responsibility, stress, and constant demand for perfection. Eventually, she reached a point many people face in their careers. She knew she was giving more. She knew her value had increased. And after much hesitation and inner struggle, she made a difficult decision. She decided to ask Michael Jordan for a raise. What happened next is something she never imagined. And what Michael Jordan said in response would go on to change her life forever. And it just might change the way you think about success too. Asking for a raise is one of the most uncomfortable conversations anyone can have. It takes courage, confidence, and a deep belief in your own worth. Now imagine how much harder that conversation becomes when the person you're asking is Michael Jordan, a man known around the world for his intensity, discipline, and obsession with perfection. The chef felt the pressure long before the conversation ever happened. For days, even weeks, she replayed the moment in her mind. She practiced what she would say while working in the kitchen. She worried about sounding ungrateful. She feared being misunderstood. And deep down, she was afraid of something even worse, being seen as easily replaceable. But there was one truth she couldn't ignore. Her role had grown far beyond what it once was. She wasn't just preparing meals anymore. She was managing strict schedules, planning performance-based nutrition, and carrying the responsibility of fueling one of the greatest athletes in history. The stakes were higher, the expectations were greater, and the pressure never stopped. She knew she was giving more than before, and she knew her value had increased. Finally, she made a decision. One day, she gathered all her courage and spoke honestly. She explained how her responsibilities had expanded over time, how much pressure came with her role, and how deeply committed she was to her work. She spoke with respect, professionalism, and sincerity. Then, with a steady breath, she asked for a raise. Michael Jordan listened. He didn't interrupt her. He didn't dismiss her concerns. There was no anger, no impatience, and no emotional reaction. He simply sat there, focused and calm, giving her his full attention. For a moment, the room felt completely still. Then he responded. But instead of immediately saying yes or no, Michael Jordan asked a single question, one that completely shifted the direction of the conversation. He looked at her and said, "Do you know how valuable you really are?" The question caught her off guard. She thought this conversation was about money, but in that moment, she realized Michael Jordan was about to teach her something far bigger than a raise. Michael Jordan leaned forward and spoke in a calm, serious tone, one that immediately told her this conversation was going to matter. What he said next stayed with her for the rest of her life. He explained that true excellence is never about doing the minimum required. It's about mastering your craft so deeply that your presence becomes impossible to replace. Jordan told her that many people work hard, but very few commit to becoming exceptional. And that difference, he said, is what separates ordinary careers from extraordinary ones. He shared that his own success was never built on talent alone. Talent may open the door, but obsession with improvement is what keeps you winning. Day after day, year after year. He pushed himself harder than anyone else, long after others were satisfied. That mindset, he said, was the real reason he became the best. Then Michael Jordan said something powerful, something that completely changed how she viewed money and success. If you want more money, don't ask for it. Become so good at what you do that people can't afford to lose you. Those words hit her deeply. Instead of simply handing her a raise, Michael Jordan did something far more meaningful. He made her an offer, one that focused not on short-term reward but long-term growth. He told her he was willing to invest in her future. He offered to pay for advanced culinary training so she could sharpen her skills. He encouraged her to study nutrition at the highest level, beyond basic cooking. He pushed her to learn everything about elite athlete performance diets, how food impacts energy, recovery, focus, and longevity. And then he made her a promise. If she fully committed to becoming the best version of herself, if she chased mastery instead of money, the money would come naturally. This wasn't a rejection of her request. It was a challenge. And coming from Michael Jordan, a man who built his legacy on challenges, it was an opportunity that could change everything. The chef accepted the challenge without hesitation. From that moment on, her mindset shifted completely. She no longer saw herself as someone who simply prepared meals. She saw herself as a professional responsible for peak performance. She trained harder than ever before, pushing herself the same way elite athletes push their bodies and minds. She immersed herself in learning. She studied food science to understand how ingredients affect the human body. She dove deep into performance nutrition, learning how the right balance of nutrients could improve energy, endurance, and recovery. She mastered high-level meal planning, tailoring every dish to specific training schedules, workouts, and recovery needs. She didn't just cook anymore. She optimized every meal with purpose. The impact was almost immediate. Michael Jordan felt the difference in his body. His energy levels improved. His recovery time shortened. His focus sharpened. The food wasn't just fueling him. It was enhancing his performance. The results were undeniable, and Jordan noticed right away. Soon others began to notice too. Word quietly spread through elite circles. Other top-level athletes became curious about the chef behind Jordan's improved performance. Some wanted her advice. Others wanted her services. Teams began asking for her input on nutrition strategies. Brands started reaching out, recognizing her growing expertise and credibility. And then something important happened. Without her ever asking again, Michael Jordan significantly increased her pay. He didn't make a big announcement. He didn't turn it into a moment. He simply rewarded excellence, just as he always had. But the true reward was much bigger than money. Michael Jordan had helped her build a career, not just a job. She gained confidence, expertise, and a reputation that opened doors she never thought possible. Over time, she went on to work with top-tier clients, earning far more than she ever imagined back when she nervously asked for that raise. Michael Jordan didn't just change her salary. He changed the way she saw herself, and that changed everything. This story isn't really about Michael Jordan. At its core, it's a story about value, and how value is created, not demanded. Michael Jordan understood something many people never fully realize. Money follows mastery. It doesn't chase effort alone, and it doesn't reward intentions. It rewards those who commit to becoming exceptional at what they do. Jordan didn't dismiss hard work, but he believed hard work without growth has limits. Anyone can work long hours. Anyone can do what's expected. But very few people push themselves to learn more, sharpen their skills, and raise their standards every single day. That's why, instead of simply rewarding effort, he rewarded commitment, improvement, and excellence. And that lesson applies to every one of us. If you want more from life, more opportunities, more respect, more income, don't just ask for it. Don't wait for permission. Don't rely on luck. Become more. Improve your skills until your work speaks for you. Learn relentlessly, even when no one is watching. Raise your standards so high that mediocrity becomes unacceptable to you. When you focus on growth, your value increases. And when your value increases, opportunities start finding you. People notice. Doors open. Rewards follow, naturally. That's the real lesson behind this story. Michael Jordan didn't just build champions on the basketball court. He built them wherever excellence was possible, even in a kitchen. By challenging someone to rise, he helped unlock a future far greater than a simple raise ever could. So remember this. Your next level in life isn't unlocked by asking for more. It's unlocked by becoming more. If this story inspired you and you'd like a more emotional version, a shorter viral YouTube script, or a powerful motivational voiceover rewrite, just let me know. I've got you covered.